You know what's wild? There's a woman who grew up so poor she wore dresses made from potato sacks, and now she's built schools that have produced Yale graduates, Rhodes Scholars, and future leaders across an entire continent. No, this isn't a fairy tale, though honestly it kind of sounds like one. We're talking about Oprah Winfrey. And yes, I know what you're thinking. Oh, great, another video about how rich people give away money. But stick with me here, because what Oprah's been doing for the past few decades isn't just writing checks and calling it a day. She's been quietly engineering something far more interesting. She's been building bridges. Long ones, the kind that span generations. The unusual beginning. Let's rewind to 2000. Oprah's at the absolute peak of her television empire. She's got the most watched talk show in America. She's launching magazines. She's making movies. The woman could sneeze and it would trend. And then she does something kind of odd. She visits South Africa, meets with Nelson Mandela, and instead of doing what most celebrities do, you know, the photo op, the heartfelt Instagram post, the thoughts and prayers routine, she asks them a question. How can I help? Now, Mandela, being Mandela, doesn't ask for a hospital wing with her name on it. He doesn't suggest a one-time donation. Instead, he says something that would change everything. Build a school for girls. And here's where it gets interesting, because Oprah doesn't just say yes, she says yes and then spends the next 7 years obsessing over every single detail. We're talking about someone who personally interviewed each scholarship candidate, who helped choose the uniforms, who debated the thread count of the bed sheets. I'm not kidding about the bed sheets. The Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls opened in 2007 with 152 students from some of the most disadvantaged backgrounds in South Africa. And right from the start, people had opinions, lots of opinions. Why spend $40 million on one school, they asked. Why not spread that money around to help more people? Fair question, honestly. But here's what those critics missed. Oprah wasn't trying to solve poverty for everyone. She was trying to create a very specific kind of ripple effect. She was betting that if you take girls who have leadership potential but zero opportunity, and you give them not just an education, but an extraordinary education, something magical happens. They don't just change their own lives, they go back and change everything around them. The philosophy. Okay, so let's talk about how Oprah thinks about giving, because it's genuinely different from the usual playbook. Most philanthropy works like this. Identify a problem, throw resources at it, measure outcomes, repeat. Very logical, very spreadsheet friendly. And hey, it works for a lot of things. But Oprah's approach is more like gardening. Stay with me here. She plants seeds in soil she knows intimately, usually education, usually focused on girls and women, usually in communities she spent time in and actually understands. Then she sticks around. She waters these seeds, she pulls weeds, she shows up year after year. It's the opposite of spray and pray charity. Take her Angel Network, which ran from 1998 to 2010. This thing raised over $80 million, and here's the kicker. 100% of viewer donations went directly to charitable projects because Oprah covered all the administrative costs herself, every penny. They built schools in 13 countries, they funded scholarships, they rebuilt homes after Hurricane Katrina. But here's what I find fascinating. Oprah often featured the recipients on her show, not in that exploitative charity porn way, but actually following up. Remember Marcus from 2003? He's a doctor now. Remember that school we built? Here are the graduates. She was creating feedback loops, showing her audience that change doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. The messy middle. Now, I'd be doing you a disservice if I made this sound like some perfect fairy tale, because it wasn't. There were some genuine bumps in the road. In 2007, right after the Leadership Academy opened, there was a scandal involving abuse allegations against a staff member. Oprah flew to South Africa immediately. She met with every single student and parent. She testified at the trial. She overhauled the entire security system. Did she have to do any of that? Technically, no. She could have released a statement and let her lawyers handle it. But instead, she showed up, because that's the thing about her approach to giving. It's personal, sometimes painfully so. And that school I mentioned, it kept going. It kept succeeding. Today, it has a 100% graduation rate. Let that sink in for a second. 100%. The first class graduated in 2011. Since then, these young women have gone on to universities around the world. They've become doctors, entrepreneurs, activists. One graduate, Nokatula Nhlapa, started an organization that's trained over 1,000 young women in leadership skills. See what I mean about ripples? But the Leadership Academy is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Oprah's given hundreds of millions of dollars to various educational causes over the years. She's funded scholarships at Morehouse College, the UNCF, Tennessee State University. She's built libraries and schools in rural America. There's a pattern here, and it's not complicated. She invests in people, particularly young people who remind her of her younger self, and then she gives them tools to build their own ladders. The bigger picture. So what does all of this actually mean? Like, in the grand scheme of things, what has Oprah's approach to giving actually accomplished? Well, here's one way to think about it. Traditional charity often tries to solve problems. Oprah's been trying to create problem solvers. There's a graduate from the Leadership Academy named Komotso Moachi. She went on to study at Stanford, and now she's working on renewable energy projects in South Africa. Another graduate, Lesego Nchidi, is fighting human trafficking. These aren't just success stories, these are multiplication factors. Each of these women is now creating change that will affect hundreds or thousands of other people. That's the generational shift we're talking about. And yeah, okay, it's not a perfect system. It's expensive, it's labor intensive, it doesn't scale easily. If you're looking for the most efficient way to move the needle on global poverty statistics, this probably isn't it. But here's what it does do. It creates leaders who are deeply committed to lifting up the communities they came from. It creates a different kind of wealth, the kind that can't be measured in GDP. Oprah's given away over $400 million to educational causes, but the real number that matters isn't the dollars, it's the lives those dollars have touched and the lives those lives will touch. Look, I'm not here to canonize Oprah Winfrey. She's a billionaire who lives in Montecito and has her own network. She's doing fine. But there's something genuinely interesting about her approach to giving. She's not trying to save the world. She's trying to empower specific people to save their own corners of it. She's playing the long game in a culture that usually demands instant results. And maybe, just maybe, that's the lesson here. Real change doesn't happen in a single transaction. It happens when you invest deeply, stick around stubbornly, and trust that the people you're supporting will do something remarkable with the opportunity. Not bad for a kid who started out in potato sack dresses, right? Thanks for watching. If this got you thinking differently about what giving can look like, maybe share it with someone. Or don't. Either way, I'll see you in the next one.